The healing code for cancer, the missing foundation behind the diagnosis. What is that? That is what I'm excited to get into with everybody today. The healing code for cancer, missing foundation behind the diagnosis. So, first of all, just let us know where you're joining in from. Many of you already have. The UK, California, Illinois, South Africa. It's wonderful. And you could write this down, or you could, if you're joining live, you can just say it out loud or type it in the chat. What's one thing you'd love to get out of today's session? What brought you here today?
Prevent the return of cancer.
I'm sorry, say that again?
How to prevent cancer returning.
How to prevent cancer returning, okay. Anybody else? Leanne, Foothills, Sierra Nevada, fear of returning cancer also, okay. What else brought you here today? It's definitely, this is going to be related to that. It's also going to be related to if you have a cancer diagnosis, or you're currently going through treatment, or you have a loved one, or you're a caretaker, or you have cancer that runs in your family, or you have cancer and you're just looking for solutions. Whatever it is in relation to any of those topics it's going to be very relevant for you today. Elise says, why healing does seem to take place after many treatments. Why healing does seem to take place, does not, okay, yeah, I was curious. Why healing does not seem to take place after many treatments. Absolutely, we'll get into that as well. So, just a quick little bit about me. I'm a certified holistic cancer coach, nutrition coach, certified trauma-informed integrative somatic practitioner. I do nervous system regulation, childhood wound healing, trauma work. I'm a certified breathwork and meditation teacher, award-winning health researcher, documentary filmmaker, and a best-selling author. And that's a question that I'd love to pose. I think a lot of people have, which is why do two people with the same diagnosis often have completely different outcomes? Why does one person often spiral into fear and continuous inflammation while another seems to stabilize and adapt, and even in some cases heal? Why do some people heal and some people don't? Like to your question, Elise, why does some healing take place, some doesn't, even after many why doesn't it take place after many treatments? And how can some people be completely at peace with their diagnosis and actually live a great life, even with cancer, and others are chronically stressed and anxious while they're also diagnosed with cancer? You know, when I was producing cancer, I used to put on a cancer conference in San Diego years ago. And I remember having conversations, and I've had many of these conversations over the years, but this was a big eye-opener for me. I was talking with one lady who told me cancer was the best thing that ever happened to her. And I was talking with another lady who said cancer was the worst thing that ever happened to her. And I was sitting with this complete, opposing viewpoints, same circumstances, same age woman, same background, same, just about everything. They're almost identical in so many ways. And so I started asking these deeper questions. How is that possible? How can cancer be the best thing happens to one person, the worst thing happens to somebody else? And that's actually what we're going to get into. First of all, none of this is about blame. None of it's about rejecting any treatments. It's about really understanding what's going on inside your body that's preventing you from healing, but more importantly, that causes chronic stress, it causes inflammation, and causes other physical, mental, and emotional challenges. And the person whose mindset says cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me, even though they still had cancer, versus the person's mindset who says the worst thing that ever happened to me, it came down to a complete understanding of what was going on inside of them, what the cancer was there doing for them. And as Dr. Francisco Contreras said it So famously in my documentary years ago, if you can ask what for instead of why me, it can change everything. What for instead of why me, right? Why me, it takes us into victim mentality. What for takes us into curiosity, that there's a deeper layer, there's a potential deeper purpose for this diagnosis. And we'll get a little bit into that, but before we do, I really want to address this key statement. You can write this down. Your body cannot heal efficiently while it feels chronically unsafe. Your body cannot heal efficiently if it feels chronically unsafe. And we've seen this again and again and again with all diseases, not just cancer, but all diseases. And as we go deeper into that, I want to ask you, what does stress look like in your life right now? You can chat it in, or you can say it if you're joining live. What causes you stress? I see many of you typing right now. What causes you stress in your life right now? Work, Kim says work. Yeah, work can be very stressful, that's for sure. What else? Not having enough money, being sued by deceased husband's children, not having control over that. Yeah, circumstances outside of your control. Finances, it's a big one. Work, finances, things outside of our control. Fear of cancer returning, well, absolutely can cause stress. So we have a lot of these circumstances in life that are outside of ourselves and even inside of ourselves that tend to cause stress. Now, here's a really bold statement I want to make. And some of you know this, and some of you this may kind of feel new to you, but our true nature, our true self, beyond the stress, beyond life circumstances, beyond the family crisis, as you just chatted in, beyond the finances, beyond all of it, our true nature is patience, is understanding, is love, is compassion, is kindness. Every spiritual tradition teaches this, and we know it at our core. Like a child who hasn't been conditioned yet, right? Think of a 3-year-old growing up in a healthy, happy family that is not conditioned yet by fear or trauma or judgment or blame or anger. How does that child live? They live so free, loving, curious, creative, funny, laughing at every little thing. And as adults, we're kind of taught to look back and go, oh, that's childish, don't be a child. So many of us have been taught that way. Don't be a child, you got to be an adult now, right? You got to take life so seriously. But yet we come into this world with this unconditioned natural state, unless you come in through serious trauma even as a newborn, which does happen. But even then, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, even up to 5-year-old many times, especially in a healthy, loving family, you came into this world connected to that true self of just curiosity, kindness, compassion, love. And if you were hungry, you cry for a little bit, you get a little food, and then you're fine, you're done, right? But nowadays, if people don't get what they want, they cry for days, weeks, months, years. Not just physically crying, but actually storing it inside as what? As anger, as resentment, as judgment, as blame. So I just want to start with this as a frame to look through, is that our true nature is everything we're desiring, and yet we become conditioned through fear, anger, judgment, blame, trauma. And that follows us into adulthood. And you'll see how this all relates to cancer as we go through this. Because here's what the cutting edge science shows us. Chronic stress dysregulates our immune system and our inflammatory systems. Long-term trauma increases our disease risk. Nervous system dysregulation affects our healing capacity. And emotional suppression is associated with much poorer health outcomes. Chronic trauma and stress reshape your nervous system in ways that increase our vulnerability to diseases like cancer over time. And it doesn't have to just be a trauma in the way a lot of us think, like, oh, a big trauma, right? It doesn't have to be that. Even just early childhood adversity can shape our nervous system in ways that increase our stress patterns, and it shows up in our biology and our physiology. Now, the good news is we can learn and retrain our nervous system to help change these patterns. But first we have to understand what's at the core of it, what's at the root of it. And so if you want to know what are these adverse events that happen in childhood up until 18, and we know so much of this stays lodged in your nervous system as an adult. Here's the top 20. There's more, but here's kind of 20 we can look at and you can take a pen and paper or a mental note and just check mark. Have you had any of these in your childhood at any time? Or even in your adult life? Even in adult life, some of these things are very traumatizing to our nervous system. And we think, oh, you go through an adverse event and then it's done. For majority of us, it is not done because we didn't process it properly. And so the nervous system, when it feels unsafe, has to create this safety mechanism. And it creates almost a separation in our mind, almost a scar. And it's funny because the Sanskrit word for this is samskara, which means impression. It creates an impression that gets lodged in our mind field and in our nervous system, which directly affects our biology and our ability to heal. But notate how many of these you've ever had in your life, just mentally or on a piece of paper, just a little tally. Any kind of abuse, physical abuse, emotional, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, chronic humiliation or shaming or bullying, exposure to domestic violence, even seeing violence in the home, emotional neglect, lack of attunement, lack of warmth, lack of validation as a child, physical neglect, maybe neglected with food, safety, or even hygiene, inconsistent or unpredictable caregiving, parents were away a lot or not around, or it was just unpredictable if your needs were going to be met. Early separation from a primary caregiver. It often happens through divorce or loss of a family member. Foster care instability or multiple placements, chronic poverty or housing instability, community violence exposure, bullying or peer victimization, racial discrimination or systemic oppression, and even medical and shock trauma. So serious childhood illness, invasive medical procedures, or medical trauma. And again, these are childhood things that directly affect our adulthood, but many of these things can happen in our adulthood that we don't have the tools and know-how with the nervous system to allow them to pass through us properly, and they lodge as traumas inside of our nervous system as well. So just keep track of how many check marks you have. Also household substance abuse, household mental illness, an incarcerated household member or somebody went to jail, could have been suicide, could have been self-harm to yourself or to someone in the family. High conflict parental relationships, so parents fighting a lot. Anybody have a lot of parents fighting or loved ones fighting around you? Or divorce or separation, or especially high conflict separation. So just tally how many check marks you have, and you can put them in the chat if you'd like. And yeah, Helen's saying, feeling trapped and angry, I think I'm a bad person. Yeah, that's part of it, is a lot of these things lead us to self-blame and shame, and that's affects our nervous system, which affects our immune system, which affects cancer showing up in our body. And that's what we're going to get to, is how to move beyond that blame. Yeah, 3 marks, 4 marks, 1 mark. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody alive. I haven't met anybody yet, other than maybe a fully enlightened being, that doesn't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 of these in their life. 3, 1, 4, 3. Yeah, exactly. It's very common. So here's what that early childhood adversity does to our human body throughout our adulthood. This is really important, because what happens to us up until we're 18 almost always, very often, impacts us throughout our adulthood. And especially in negative belief systems, emotional neglect, verbal or physical abuse, chronic self-doubt, worry, anxiety, any of those things, these childhood traumas, adverse events, how they affect us as an adult. The biological effects, scientifically studied, alter cortisol regulation, sensitize the amygdala, which means that our nervous system's constantly looking for threats outside of us in our environment, excessively, which keeps us in a fight or flight mode. It disrupts our vagal tone, which directly impacts just about every system in the body. It increases inflammatory signaling. It creates hypervigilance or freeze patterns in the body. It shapes our attachment style, which means that we get attached to things outside of ourselves for regulation, and we don't have a good way to self-regulate. It influences our stress coping behaviors. It can help create addiction patterns.
Okay. Well, since I didn't go to the store yesterday, I thought I would do it.
What was that? Was somebody saying something? And over time, these things increase our vulnerability to anxiety, depression, autoimmune disorders, cardiovascular disease, substance use disorders, stress-related chronic illness, cancer, heart disease, other chronic diseases. So we know, even according to the Mayo Clinic, stress is widely considered the leading driver of primary care visits, suggesting up to 90%, 75 to 90% of all doctor's office visits are related to stress-related ailments. See, chronic stress impacts nearly every bodily system and contributes to all of these diseases: high blood pressure, anxiety, heart disease, cancer. And it all starts from the childhood. I want to show this short video, and actually, let me stop sharing and then share again so the audio is good. And then we'll talk about it briefly. I think it's like 2 minutes. Okay, that should be better.
It would be nice to believe that nothing much happens to young children who grow up around violent or angry parents and caregivers. It would be so nice to believe that they could simply brush off their experiences and keep an unblemished faith in life and in themselves. But the more psychologists have studied children, the more they've realized something extremely daunting: that we are all, in fact, hugely susceptible to the moods of the people around us. Expose people to violent tempers early on, and the scars can last a lifetime. At the University of Washington's Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences, psychologist Professor Betty Repaccioli and her team have carried out a riveting experiment to show what can happen to a sensitive child, that is, to every child, who comes in the vicinity of a raised, angry voice. Watch how this 15-month-old boy responds.
What's inside the box?
Okay, I want to set this up for you real quick. So you'll see this boy just this woman across the table, the therapist, basically just hands him a box and just lets him play whatever he wants to do. And you'll see, all she does is hand it to him, and he immediately goes into curiosity, right? Then a woman is going to come in, and she's going to have a loud voice, not even yelling at him, but yelling at the lady. They're going to have an exchange. And so watch this boy now in his natural state, and then watch what happens after there's a heated exchange just in his presence.
Watch how this 15-month-old boy responds.
What's inside the box? Can take the lid off. Is there something in there? There's a green cone. I'm gonna put it back inside the box.
In a safe environment, a child is free to explore joyfully. But when there is some kind of danger, represented here by a so-called emoter, curiosity quickly gives way to fear.
Hi, Teresa. I'm going to sit here reading a magazine.
Okay. That's Kelly. Kelly's doing safe and read a magazine. Kelly, look at this.
That's aggravating. That's so annoying.
Oh, I thought it was really interesting.
Well, that's just your opinion. It's aggravating.
This 15-month-old was lucky. He was sitting on the lap of a loving mother and was quickly comforted. But many of us are less fortunate, and it's life itself, rather than just a pink set of beads, that we have, as a consequence, grown too frightened to explore. We should show ourselves immense compassion and strive with all our intelligence to create a world in which there might henceforth be a lot less rage and fewer cowed, traumatized children.
Okay. What did you notice there? What stood out to you? Key takeaways. You can chat it in, or you can unmute yourself and share something. You need to get out of that. Anybody want to share?
Yeah, hi Nathan. Thanks so much for hosting this. What I noticed was that initially the child was very curious, enjoying playing with the box or seeing kind of, what he could do with the box, kind of exploring. And once the emoter came in and, was aggressive to the other person, he just kind of watched them. You could see that he was intimidated and then, afraid. And then when the pink beads and the glass or whatever, the new thing for him to play with was put in front of him, he didn't even attempt to touch it. He just looked at, at the people that were in front of him having the argument. So I see that it kind of froze him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely. That's a great observation. Helen's saying the child did not explore afterwards. Chrissy said child becomes quiet and withdrawn. Chris says he was afraid. Yeah, absolutely. And you can see just the natural curiosity there of our nature is curiosity, smiling, happy, right? And notice how that makes you feel when you watch this as well. What part of you is feeling for this child, for the mother, for the therapist, for, everyone's got different reactions. We don't have time to go into all of that because that all has wisdom for your own system as well. It's the work I do with clients individually, and we would look at how your nervous system responds to each of these situations, and then that would bring some significant wisdom and healing for your own body. But how this, just another person coming in and in front of him, not even towards him, but raising her voice briefly in a moment of seemingly some anger towards someone else, and all of a sudden he shifted, right? Now, that one moment is not going to traumatize this child for the rest of his life. But think about how many times we've been yelled at directly as a child, or punished, or told, you're not doing it right, or not good enough, or shown that in so many ways, or left to cry for too long, or so many things that happen we don't even remember from 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, but the nervous system does. I just had work with a client a couple days ago, and his nervous system brought up all of these deep-rooted memories from 1 year old, and it's all this trauma that's stored in there, and so we're getting to the root of it and actually helping his system start to heal from that. But it stores it even at these early ages, and you can see how it makes sense that we can go from very curious, loving, free children to very, constricted, challenged, stressful, anxious adults. And it all starts in childhood. And it's not to blame parents or anybody around us. I mean, this is life. It's just what we all go through in one way or another. And it's also a gift for us to learn to heal from these things and to be able to share and help others, as the video said, which was how to reduce the amount of anger and rage and stress in the world. We could spend a lot of time on this, but I want to keep moving. Because the good news is your past is not your destiny. What happened, whatever happened in your life, can be healed. Your state of mind can be become more harmonious and happy and peaceful, and your nervous system can be brought back into regulation. Traumas can be healed. Adverse events can be healed. And I see it all the time. Here's a key phrase. We might not be able to control everything that happens to us, but we can influence the internal environment our body lives in to create more safety and peace. And safety and peace allows for physical healing. And here's the key. Your body wants to heal. Think about it. Your body's trying to heal all the time. Your nervous system wants to be regulated. Your spirit, your soul wants your mind and body to be at peace, in harmony, curious, joyful, loving. It's constantly trying to bring you to that harmonious state. The key is starting to cultivate a relationship with your inner world so your mind and body can become more in harmony with your true nature. And when that happens, then the body can start to thrive a bit more. Now, here's something I like to show, which is how the spirit and the mind and body is all connected. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a bit. Let's see if you can. I'm going to draw this because I'm a very visual person. And I know a lot of people are very visual too, so I'm going to draw something for you. I'm not a great artist though, so you have to give me a little slack here. But this is how a lot of the ancients look at it. One of my teachers from India says I like this metaphor where we're like a mango in some ways, right? Where the pit of the mango, the seed, is the spirit, is the soul, also called the causal body. Causal body. The mango flesh or fruit on the inside, this is your physical body. And the skin on the outside, which in a mango is going to be thin, but this is your subtle body, and the subtle body is composed of your mind, your emotions, your ego, your intellect. It's all the energetic aspects of our mind that you can see this. It's also called the aura if you look at it from Cryptilian photography. But whatever impacts the subtle body impacts the physical body. And whatever impacts the physical body impacts the subtle body. So if the mango is dented and bruised on the outside, it's going to also have that same problem on the inside, and vice versa. It's all interconnected. Now, the causal body is pure, is infinite, is source, is one with God, with divine, with the universe, whatever you want to say. That is not impacted by anything, but that's the life force. That's what's keeping us alive. And you notice when the body drops, when we die, or an animal dies, or a person dies, there's no more life force there, because the life force, the soul, the spirit has left that body, right? Nothing changes about that body except it goes hard and cold and stiff. There's no more life force energy because the spirit has left. It's gone into the next dimensions. And the way I like to look at it too is more like a light bulb, because the mind is actually, it sits around much further around our body. So if we were to look at like a light bulb, I'm going to do my best to draw. It's not a regular light bulb, but let's pretend that's a light bulb. Inside, you have the actual, someone can help me, I forget what this part's called, but this is where this is the causal body, the spirit, the source. This is the source of the light. The bulb itself is the physical body, and the light emanating from the bulb is your subtle body, because it actually extends beyond our body significantly. And the electricity going in, that's the source, that's the divine, that's the life force, that's what's lighting us up. Right? And so when we start to understand this at a deeper spiritual level, and our modern science also affirms this in so many ways, but I love the spiritual teachings around it, because you realize how it's all interconnected. And how modern psychology says, oh yes, it is. Whatever's going on in the mind is actually manifesting in the body and vice versa. The filament, there you go. Thank you, Bernadette. Thank you. So it's all interconnected. I'm not going to spend much time here, but I mean, just so you know, I went through a lot of traumas, a lot of adverse events as a child, and I struggled with being bullied and then bullying others. I struggled with depression and addiction. I had suicidal tendencies. I ended up homeless at 15. My parents divorced. I had family members that committed suicide. I struggled with skin issues and chronic gut issues and chronic stress and anger and brain fog and fatigue and chronic pain. I was almost dead by 18. And so I had many of these adverse child events and traumas and challenges that I had to heal, or I learned to heal throughout my adulthood. That took time, but also took the knowledge and the skill set and the coaching and the guidance to be able to do it. And over the last 20 years of healing and helping others, I've been able to support people in their own healing and awakening and spiritual journeys through best-selling books and documentaries and conferences and mastermind groups with top health professionals in the world. And even then I've gone out and teach health and wellness to kids and to people of all kinds. I study with many spiritual masters in many different traditions. And so what I'm sharing is not like my own, like I own any of this. All of this that comes from me is through lived experience and the wisdom and guidance from so many masters and great teachers and great people in my life that have supported me along the way. And some of the things that have come through me through the process to be able to serve and help others. And I'm not special. I'm not like, there's a lot of people who have worked with me who have had a lot of great results and who say that the work I do is very powerful and empowering and helping a lot of people. But I just want to say I'm not anything special. We all have 99.9% the same DNA, in fact. We all have minds, we all have bodies, we all have spirits, we all have emotions, we all have traumas of some sort, and we all can get better. And your true self wants to support you in your own healing. So the fact that I've been able to heal from so many of these things and change my life and live really a great life and help many others, it's not because I'm special or better than anybody. It's the tools and many things that I'm sharing with you, and the knowledge and support and the guidance. After I did a lot of research into helping people heal and working with thousands and thousands of patients, along the way I learned from people like Candace Pert and Bruce Lipton around the mind-body connection and the cellular biology of belief and how these things actually impact our biology and our physiology. And when we get to the root of it, and we look at psychoneuroimmunology and how the nervous system impacts the immune system and impacts our ability to heal, it is so powerful and so profound. And I love how our ancient wisdom keepers already knew this. We can go back 2,500 years into the Yoga Sutras where they talked about samskaras, where they talked about healing emotionally and how it's related to the physical body and how repeated thoughts become our tendencies and repeated tendencies become our habits and our repeated habits become our character, right? And these impressions and samskaras, these limiting beliefs, these traumas, these childhood adverse events, they shape our future and everything about our physical well-being, emotional well-being. And so ancient wisdom meets modern science is kind of how I like to work with clients. And modern psychology confirms the same pattern. Adverse events happen. We have a nervous system response. In response, very often that lodges into our nervous system and our mind to try to create it has to hold on to it because we don't know how to process it mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Our brain releases neuropeptides and inflammation. Then we have mental and emotional adaptations to try and adapt to that trauma we went through, to try and make sense of it, which leads to limiting beliefs, which those limiting beliefs lead to, see, I call them borrowed beliefs because anything that's borrowed is meant to be returned to its source. So once we realize what they are, then we can return them. But they do serve a purpose for a certain amount of time. Those lead to what I call binding behaviors. And then those lead to all kinds of chronic health conditions in our life. So I'll give you an example. The outcome is let's say you have chronic inflammation, chronic pain, you have cancer, whatever it is. Underneath the disease are the behaviors that drive the disease. And then you have the beliefs that drive those behaviors. And then you have the mental emotional adaptations that drive the beliefs. And you have the nervous system responses that drive those beliefs, that drive those mental emotional adaptations. And then at the core of it, you have that original trauma or adverse childhood event or series of events that impacted the nervous system. So this is just how it works. It's not, there's no blame, there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's none of that is part of this process. It's just, this is how it works, and it's designed actually to keep us safe, to keep us feeling safe so we can keep moving forward in life. Otherwise we'd completely shut down and just die. So it's actually a very intelligent design, and people think, oh, this is wrong. No, it's not. This is an intelligent design to allow us to keep moving forward in life. But when you have the safety there, and you have the wisdom, and you have the guidance, and you have the love, then that helps you move it through your system. But when we don't have that, then our system has to adapt. And these are all adaptations, right? But what does that lead to? Well, then it leads to chronic stress. Chronic stress leads to excessive cortisol and hormone dysregulation. That leads to immune system suppression. Immune system suppression is a perfect environment for cancer, pain, autoimmune disease, heart disease, chronic inflammatory conditions, etc. So is this making sense so far? Let me know if you guys are with me or I've lost you, where you're at. Just let me know in the chat, or you can speak up. Are you following along? Is it Leanne says with you? Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure that this is helpful and it's making sense, because and I want to spend time on this, because when you really get this, then you can be empowered to actually do something about it. Until you fully get this at its root, you're just chasing. It's like the analogy, I mean, my dog's right there, is like chasing her tail. Like we just chase our tail after the next supplement, the next red light therapy, the next thing. And those are good, they're helpful, but they're 20%. If we don't focus on the 80% of nervous system regulation, we're missing 80% of our own healing. So yeah, with you, Julie. Thank you for the thumbs up. Alicia says yes. Okay, good. And so let's see. I think this is a short video. Do we have time for this?
Stress is
Okay, so basically the video is just showing what I just talked about, how stress, this is the science behind how it actually impacts our immune system and what's happening. So we'll watch a little bit of it. I don't think we have to watch the whole thing.
feeling we all experience when we are challenged or overwhelmed. But more than just an emotion, stress is a hardwired physical response that travels throughout your entire body. In the short term, stress can be advantageous, but when activated too often or too long, your primitive fight or flight stress response not only changes your brain, but also damages many of the other organs and cells throughout your body. Your adrenal gland releases the stress hormones cortisol, epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, and norepinephrine. As these hormones travel through your bloodstream, they easily reach your blood vessels and heart. Adrenaline causes your heart to beat faster and raises your blood pressure, over time causing hypertension. Cortisol can also cause the endothelium, or inner lining of blood vessels, to not function normally. Scientists now know that this is an early step in triggering the process of atherosclerosis, or cholesterol plaque buildup in your arteries. Together, these changes increase your chances of a heart attack or stroke. When your brain senses stress, it activates your autonomic nervous system. Through this network of nerve connections, your big brain communicates stress to your enteric or intestinal nervous system. Besides causing butterflies in your stomach, this brain-gut connection can disturb the natural rhythmic contractions that move food through your gut, leading to irritable bowel syndrome, and can increase your gut's sensitivity to acid, making you more likely to feel heartburn. Via the gut's nervous system, stress can also change the composition and function of your gut bacteria, which may affect your digestive and overall health. Speaking of digestion, does chronic stress affect your waistline? Well, yes. Cortisol can increase your appetite, It tells your body to replenish your energy stores with energy-dense foods and carbs, causing you to crave comfort foods. High levels of cortisol can also cause you to put on those extra calories as visceral or deep belly fat. This type of fat doesn't just make it harder to button your pants. It is an organ that actively releases hormones and immune system chemicals called cytokines that can increase your risk of developing chronic diseases such as heart disease and insulin resistance. Meanwhile, stress hormones affect immune cells in a variety of ways. Initially, they help prepare to fight invaders and heal after injury, but chronic stress can dampen the function of some immune cells, make you more susceptible to infections, and slow the rate you heal. Want to live a long life? You may have to curb your chronic stress.
Okay, we'll pause it there, because I think you get the point that stress, anxiety, these experiences we have, anger, resentment, judgment, blame, every single time you can see how it's affecting every part of our body. It's all interconnected. And the key is, people go, okay, just stop being stressed. And you go, yeah, right. Right? You hear that all the time. Yeah, just be cool, just be calm, don't be stressed out. It's like, okay, well, why is it so difficult? Why is that so difficult? You know it, but then something triggers you and you get angry. You know you should be more calm and you know you should be more peaceful, but then what? Then something triggers you and now you're yelling, you're upset, you're feeling tight and tense in your body, you're feeling anxious, and it's like, why? Well, because these childhood wounds, these beliefs, this subconscious programming, it's in your nervous system. It's not in your conscious mind. And so that's the key here, is that we have to get to the nervous system. We operate from our subconscious programming. As my friend and colleague Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about, 95% of our life is actually from our subconscious programming, primarily from the first 7 years of our life. And only 5% of the time we operate from our conscious mind. So 95% of the choices you're making, the beliefs you have, the thoughts you have, the actions you take, is coming from the subconscious mind. Roughly, now, there's not hard science saying it's 95% for everybody. There's a lot of modern neuroscience that says, yes, majority of our life is run by our subconscious, and that is directly connected to our nervous system. So what can we do about it? Obviously we want to get into solutions here. The good news is your nervous system can be retrained, and we can heal from chronic stress and then get our body into a state of self-healing. Now, there's a lot of methodologies and there's a lot of therapy and there's a lot of things you can do. But what a lot of this science has shown us, and what I find with my clients, is in integrating a series of very effective modalities together seems to create the strongest outcomes. And there's quite a bit of research that is showing that as well, when we're combining things like cognitive processing with emotional integration and childhood wound healing and nervous system regulation, creating relational safety with somatic practices and spiritual practices, then your immune system is listening to your nervous system. And when your nervous system feels safe and regulated, your body has a much better chance of healing itself. And we have to get the body out of that survival mode. You can just glance at this and how's your nervous system dysregulated? Well, do you ever have a rapid heartbeat? Do you ever have shallow breathing? Do you feel anxiety? Do you feel irritable, feeling on edge? Do you ever feel impatient or overwhelmed? Do you have behavior patterns that show up like overworking or controlling or perfectionism or addictive coping for food, alcohol, scrolling, sex, gambling? You have difficulty slowing down. You have fatigue, but you can't relax. You have frequent headaches, poor sleep, maybe chronic fatigue, low energy, digestive slowing, maybe brain fog, numbness, depression, hopelessness, disconnection, procrastination, isolation. Right? These are all symptoms of a dysregulated nervous system. And many people oscillate between anxious and exhausted, and then overdrive and collapse, and then hyper-control, and then shut down. It's this oscillating dysregulation, and it's very common with someone who has cancer, or high achievers, or caregivers, or trauma survivors. This is the common pattern that we see, and we know it's disrupting and regulating all of these physiological and biological components in our body. So if you're like, well, none of that explains me. Well, here's some subtle signs people don't recognize. You can't sit still in silence, or you feel unsafe relaxing, or you get startled easily, or you feel like you need constant stimulation, or you overreact to small stressors, or you feel guilty resting, or even you feel uncomfortable receiving help, right? If you've been living in this chronic dysregulated nervous system state for years, your body probably doesn't even remember what safety feels like. And again, none of this is weakness. It's protective wiring, but protective wiring can be retrained. So I want to do just a quick 5-minute nervous system reset together, just so you can kind of feel the difference here. So sitting comfortably if you can. I see some of you walking outside, and if you can, take a seat just for a minute. I don't see anybody driving. If you are driving, you can do this with your eyes open. We'll just take a few minutes here and just, first of all, just feel your body right now, and what do you notice? You feel like you're in any of those states we were talking about? I hear some background noise somewhere. Can we mute? Just pay attention to your body right now. And let's go ahead and close our eyes. Just take a deep breath in through the nose. And let it out. Long, slow out breath through the mouth. Take another deep breath in through the nose. And let it out through the mouth. Maybe making a sigh sound. Another deep breath in, filling your belly all the way up. And long, slow out breath through the mouth. See if you can feel your shoulders relax just a little bit. See if you can feel the weight of your body on your seat. See if you can return to just a gentle, simple breath in and out through the nose. Now bring your hand to your heart. Just bring a gentle attention to your heart. Maybe just try even smiling at your heart a little bit, like kind of you're greeting an old friend. Maybe you can even see or sense your heart smiling back to you. Just keep a gentle attention on your heart. Breathing into your heart and letting it go. And as you're continuously focusing on your heart, bring up somebody you're grateful for in your life. Bring that person into your heart and just feel a sense of gratitude for them. What are you grateful for about that person? What have they helped you with? What have they supported you with? How do they make you feel when you're grateful for them? What is it that makes you grateful for that person? Keep that person in your heart, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for them. Sending them a thank you for all that they've done in your life. Now let that go. And let's bring up an experience or circumstance in your life that you're grateful for. Something that's maybe helped you or given you a sense of gratitude. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can just be anything you're grateful for. Could be something simple, could be something big. Just what pops in your mind that you feel just grateful in your life. Maybe multiple things start coming in. Staying connected to your heart as you're feeling gratitude for these things, or situations, or circumstances, or learnings, or people in your life. And now let that go. And taking one more breath in. And relaxing, letting it go. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. What did you notice in that few minutes together? How do you feel now? Leanne says that calmed my nervousness. Yeah, beautiful. Someone's drawing on the screen. I'm not sure how that's even possible, but that's funny. Julie says peaceful. Yeah, I feel even more calm and peaceful just a few minutes, right? Yeah, it calms nervousness, peaceful, brings you to the present moment. Lighter, absolutely. See, what if your body could feel this way more often? You know, what if your nervous system could feel safe and calm more often? Imagine what it would do for your body to be able to heal itself. Imagine what it would do for your mind. Now, this is just a very simple, small shift, and you can do this every day. You can do it a few times a day, and it'll help. It'll help you bring you to that lightness and peacefulness and calmness. What I've discovered, though, is a single exercise like this, even just done daily, it's not going to retrain the years of that survival wiring. It will bring you into a state of calmness, which is helpful. But if we don't retrain the nervous system through the deeper somatic work and emotional healing, the body continues to interpret life as a threat. So these are nice daily practices to do, but the deeper emotional healing is really important. I don't know how to take that off my screen. What is that? Someone drew something. That's funny. I didn't even know you could draw on here. It says Helen drew those lines. I don't know if you know how to erase that. Helen says definitely calmer. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the question is, what's your nervous system protecting you from right now? Is it loss of control, fear, grief, being vulnerable, slowing down, burdening others, fear of the unknown? So many things for so many of us. But you can retrain your nervous system. And, I've developed a process that incorporates 12 different powerful, gentle, effective modalities, both from ancient wisdom and modern psychological and somatic practices that help get to the root cause of our adverse events, our childhood wounds, our negative beliefs, and our behaviors that can help completely rewire and regulate our nervous system so our body can actually have a chance at healing themselves. These are the same practices that have helped me heal from so many of my traumas and beliefs and dysregulated nervous system over the years. And really it can help us feel more inner peace, inner freedom, and even lead us to more self-realization. Sorry about your screen. I don't have a clue how I did that. Yeah, I don't know either. I'm trying to look at how maybe, Patricia, you can help us figure out how to get the... It's okay, Helen, by the way. It's totally fine. But maybe you can figure out... Oh, here we go. I got some drawing tools. Maybe I can erase it. Ah, ta-da. See? There's always a solution. When we're calm, we can always find the solution a lot easier, right? That's what I found in my own life. Yeah, no problem. So I'm not going to go through all these, but I'll just share with you some of my clients, whether they have addictions, they have emotional outbursts, fears, traumas, angers, cancers, you name it. The amount of just deep peace and ability to shift from fear to focus, and ability to heal these traumas, and ability to go into the deeper emotional work. What's amazing is sometimes the body actually heals itself when you reduce the stress, when you heal emotionally, when you get to these underlying patterns. For sure, your life, my clients' lives, my life becomes more enjoyable, more peaceful, more calm, more centered, more happy, less stressful, less fear. And when we're in that state, the body is much more equipped to be able to heal itself. And these are some people who followed my work over the years, who have worked with me, who some of them are cancer-free. And that's not my promise. My promise is not, you work with me or you do emotional healing and your cancers go away. No, my promise is we're going to look at what are these emotional patterns, where does this come from? We're going to get to the root, and you're going to have big ahas and breakthroughs and deeper emotional connection and nervous system regulation, so that your body can be significantly more equipped to be able to heal itself. And so I call this process the awaken process. Clients report reduced anxiety, better sleep, less stress, less emotional overwhelm, more self-awareness, more self-improvement. It's not replacing treatment. I'm not claiming to cure anything. There's no blame. There's no shame. We work together with your nervous system through trauma-informed somatic practices that actually the wisdom's inside you. I'm just a guide and a coach that helps your system guide us to what it needs. And it's very powerful. So I just want to share with you, and we'll wrap up. I do have some private coaching spots that opened up. I had 8 yesterday. I just had someone take that one. So I have 7 spots left if anyone's interested in private coaching. We are opening up some group coaching as well. And I generally recommend at least 6 to 12 sessions to start. Usually clients are seeing some pretty noticeable results within the first 1 to 3 sessions. But because it's layers and we're unpeeling layers and we're going deeper, usually, we're looking 6 to 12 sessions to see some significant improvement, because we're retraining the nervous system that's been, it's been dysregulated for many, many, many years. And so, the pricing starts as low as $297, goes all the way up to $8,500, depending on which package you choose. The packages can be very comprehensive based on your needs. And if you want to schedule a free 30-minute call, I've got some available. I'll put it in the chat here. Just go to nathancrane.com/awaken for cancer. And there is an application process and a form to fill out to make sure it's a good fit. If you're dealing with anything we talked about today, I know I can help you. And if you're interested, you can fill out that form. It'll take you about 10 minutes. And then you can schedule a free 30-minute call. And we'll meet. You and I will meet. We'll talk. We'll go deeper, and we'll see what is the best options for you moving forward. And you'll get to see all of that. Just nathancrane.com/awaken for cancer, and you can fill that form out, and then we'll go from there. And on that 30-minute call, I'll answer all your questions, tell you about different program options. We'll go deeper into your personal circumstances. It's all private and based on your needs. Whatever you do, whether you work with me or not, I just want you to know, I want you to consider making this your priority. Right? Because your inner peace is worth it. No matter whether you choose to work with me or someone else, regulating your nervous system, healing these emotional wounds, doing this deep work, it's essential not only for your own body to be able to actually heal itself. Like I said, this is 80% of healing. From all of my research and perspective, and working with so many people and interviewing so many doctors and looking at hundreds and hundreds of studies, this is the 80%. So if we're not doing this, we're not really focused on allowing ourselves to heal. But beyond that, helping you find greater inner peace, emotional freedom, joy, and the self-realization you deserve. So I hope to work with you, but at the very least, I hope you work with somebody or continue doing deep nervous system regulation work, because it is profoundly life-changing and supportive. We are over time. I will, for anyone who wants to stay on, I can stay on another 10 or 15 minutes and answer any questions that you have. So let me just stop sharing my screen. If anyone has any questions, I can stay on for about 10 minutes and answer. Leanne says, thank you very much. Absolutely, Leanne. Helen says, thank you for the information, which confirms I can move towards self-acceptance and regulate my stress. Yes. I'm also doing a Gabor Mate course. Cool. He's great. Heal Online. Thank you for your input. Onward to Peace. Beautiful. Thank you, Helen. That's great. Bernadette says, sometimes the body cannot, however, the body cannot heal, but the person is more at peace to accept that this body that carried them on a journey in this realm is coming to their final limit, so they feel more at peace to go forward to the next soul journey that we do not know much about. This was my husband 2 years ago after battling pancreatic cancer for a year. It's true. This is one of the key foundational things that was discovered in the research around whether somebody is what I would call like a cancer conqueror or cancer thriver versus somebody who lives with cancer or beyond cancer for many, many years after the diagnosis, but doing it in a healthy and peaceful way. And one of the things that they found in studying a lot of people was the mindset was a strong reason to live. So if you have a strong reason to live, you want to live, you still have more purpose, you still have more to discover, your soul feels like, no, I need to be here, I got stuff to do, man, I got places to go, people to help, people to meet, places to see, like I'm still here. Then having that strong mindset of no, I'm staying. That's a key mental aspect that will support the healing significantly. Now, on the other hand, if there's a strong feeling, it's like this is my time. It's time to go, and I'm at peace with that. I'm okay with that. I'm ready for what's next. That's also beautiful. And I would never tell somebody not to feel that way. Now, if there's a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety and it's like a lot of fight, push, and pull between that, then I would say let's look at the deep emotional work under that, because there's a big party that really wants to stay, the big party that wants to go. Tom Loswick, friend and colleague of mine who had cancer, and he had like 6 or 7 other health conditions, and he was on like a dozen medications. And, when he was in so much pain and in a wheelchair and had his gallbladder removed and had a surgery and had this and chemo and so much stuff going on, it was like there was a big percentage of him that wanted to leave. He didn't want to be here anymore. But there was a good percentage of him that still wanted to stay. And the percent that wanted to stay was the one that started doing the work. He actually started doing emotional healing and nervous system retraining and Qigong and energy healing and all these different things. And a few years later, completely healed of everything, off all his meds, pain-free, living an amazing life, helping others. Because he listened to that part that really wanted to stay. So each person's unique. I'll never tell everybody to just do one thing, other than, yes, emotional healing and nervous system regulation and spiritual practices, yeah, everybody will benefit from that. But it's also dependent on what you really want and what your soul wants and what you're here to do and learn and grow and contribute. Julie says, thank you. Rodika, thank you. Absolutely. Isha, thank you very much. You're very welcome. Chrissy, thank you. Yes. How to deal with this when there are others around you causing the stress? That's a good question. It's always, and mostly things outside of us that are causing our stress. That's how we perceive it, right? We perceive that it's the circumstances and the people and the situations that cause my stress. Now, here's how. And I validate that, and I get that, and I accept that viewpoint, because I have had the same viewpoint, that it's this person causing my stress. The reality is that person triggers your stress, but that person doesn't cause your stress. What causes the stress is our reaction to it, is our resistance to it, is our expectations to it, is our beliefs around it, is our behaviors around it, and that is all rooted in our nervous system. So this is what's beautiful, what happens, and happened in my own life. As I do this deeper work, and I heal, and I do the spiritual practices, and the psychological practices, and the emotional practices, and even do the awaken process on myself, for example. Things that used to trigger me that would cause me to be stressful don't cause me to be stressful anymore. I can just see it for what it is. Mentally, I knew that that person wasn't causing my stress, but my nervous system was reacting. And I would get, uptight or angry or upset or just like, whatever, screw you kind of thing, like leave me alone. But now it happens and I just have compassion. and I feel at peace. Because not only does a cognitive part of me realize, yeah, that's their stuff, and it's triggering me, but doing the emotional healing and the childhood wound healing and the nervous system retraining, now my nervous system doesn't react to that, so I don't get stressed. Does that make sense? And so this is the deep work I'm talking about that we do together. Wow, yeah, Bernadette, I can imagine that was very difficult to lose your husband that way. Not sure if you fully grieved that or if you're at peace with that, but wow, I'm sure it was also beautiful as well as challenging. I'm coming up on my 82nd and my third cancer experience, coming up on 82. Wow, beautiful. You're 82. Congratulations. Happy birthday. Difference between number 1 and number 3 has been amazing thanks to all this healing work. Wow. Thanks for putting words as nice at all. Yeah, you bet. Ayesha, yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll end it there. I know we're a little bit over time, but thank you so much. If you do have, it's hard. You have a 12-year-old who you have to move on in life for. Yeah, I'm sure that makes it challenging. I would guess. I don't know. If I was working with you, we would start to look at that and start to look at the parts of you that see it as hard and the parts of you that, feel like you have to move on, and where's that confliction happening in your nervous system, and we start to get to the root and understanding of that. This work is all about understanding what's going on in your body and your nervous system and creating a relationship and then starting to integrate, and that creates the healing. And it's never about trying to get rid of anything, actually, because the more we try to get rid of stuff, we push it away. The harder you push, the more you attract it to you, actually. So it's actually bringing in true self energy. It's bringing in awareness and presence. It's bringing in connection, and that creates healing and integration. And so we would look at all of those parts, and we would start to understand it more and start to create some compassion and healing around it, and use a number of different modalities that really help with that. So I have compassion for you for sure, and knowing that, all of these challenges we go through can be life learning opportunities, can be awakening moments, can be opportunities for us to heal ourselves and in turn be able to support those around us. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much. If you have more questions, just email me, and I will probably do this again, maybe next week even. So if you have more questions or want to come again or share this with anybody, we should have a replay to send out too in case you missed anything. So wish you all so much health and happiness. Many blessings.